Okay, so hi, my name's Elena Grider, and this is Miss Schwartz. She works at Bryan Station Middle, and I had the opportunity to work with her on my project for um, linguistic analysis at Georgetown College, and I just wanted to share with you some of the things I've learned and discuss like recommendations to support the student that I worked with, which I'm gonna use the name as Milo to kind of, as like a pseudonym.
Okay.
But through my project, I had to like analyze his speaking and his writing, and honestly, I just loved reflecting on it because I got to see, well, not really see, but connect what I've been learning to like what he's going through. So, as more English language learners like become part of the mainstream classroom, it's important for teachers to, of course, know the knowledge of like their home language, also how they acquire their first and second language, and their linguistic needs. So knowing what language is, how it's used, and this will also, I can't stumble over my words, give insight to how the student uses and learns their target language.
Right.
So kind of wanted to jump and start off by talking about Milo, and I was telling you a little bit ago before we started this meeting, kind of like how the Honduran culture is like way different than what I've kind of was exposed to with Milo. Like one of the things that I learned was that they value their personal space, and I was like, really?
Yeah.
I was like, interesting etiquette, because they were like saying how they like to have an arm's length of space, and I was like, okay, which I didn't really see that with Milo because he seemed very friendly and open, and I don't know.
I don't really see that with any of my kids from Honduras.
Yeah,
I see more of the, they want to hug when they meet you.
Mm-hmm.
They are very modest.
Okay.
They won't show up in a mini skirt for a girl or anything showing skin. They are very modest.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're very personable.
Gotcha. And another thing that was interesting that I found out was that as you greet men, they like, a handshake. But for women, which was more shocking, is that they have to put their hand out first for them to feel that they're comfortable. And I don't know if you have a lot of experience interacting with Milo's parents, but I just thought that was interesting. Do you see any of that when you interacted with them?
I don't. Of course, the guys, shake hands.
Mm-hmm.
But usually the women hug. A greeting is just a hug.
Oh.
And, you don't want to reach and grab somebody. So sometimes I'll even, like hold out my hands. But that's what they do. They hug.
Gotcha. So I think that's really interesting how, like, even though this research states how they are, specifically how that student was raised can be quite different than what they say for the whole, like, population. So
that's just like here.
Exactly.
We're all raised in Kentucky, but we're raised a lot different depending on what background you have.
Yeah, like with my family, even though I do come from like an Hispanic background, I still am very like welcoming and like hugging when I greet people, which to some people they're probably like, whoa, this is like completely different. Like, a lot of people are like, this is my space, this is my bubble. But just kind of like you were saying, depending on where you're from and how you're raised, like it can really change on how you interact and communicate.
Right.
So I thought that was really interesting. But the home language of the ENL student is important because, it gives insight into how they communicate linguistically, culturally, and socially. So this will better determine how to like differentiate instruction for the student, but also draw the importance of knowing how the student uses language.
Right.
So one of the theories that I learned about was called systemic functional linguistics. I don't know if you've been exposed to that term. So this theory is unique in that it focuses on meaning, which is what I like, because a lot of times, people learn through all the drills and exercises, but they don't really understand why they're doing it or how that's supposed to be applied. So I liked learning about that. And another important part about this theory is that it focuses on the 3 functions of language. Language is used to express, language is used to communicate and build connection, and then language helps organize that connection. And so I felt that was a very powerful statement because, language does have purpose, but language also brings power. Like, I don't know, I just never really thought about it, but it was very, interesting and moving. And one of the videos that I learned about was about the Appalachian culture. And one of the things that the lady was saying is how, language is power, and, depending on the choices that you have, knowing the academic or disciplinary, language and having your home language gives you the choice of communicating. And I think that's so awesome.